The holidays are here, and with them a reminder that while most of us go shopping or plan parties, there are hundreds of thousands of U.S. forces that continue to fight for the country halfway around the world. American troops now coming home from battlefields in places like Fallujah and Helmand Province, only to find themselves in another battle back here at home. They suffer with depression, anxiety, substance abuse, divorce, also post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, over 2 million Americans have served in Iraq and Afghanistan. 45,000 have been killed or wounded, with over 300,000 suffering brain injuries and over 300 taking their own lives in 2009 alone. Now, vets have seen a spike in divorce rates as well as homelessness and even homicide. Tom Tarantino is the Senior Legislative Associate for Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America and joins us now. Tom, as we talk about all this, they seem like some very daunting issues, certainly some very sobering issues that all of us need to become aware of. But because of this, there's much more magnification for the people that are suffering from this during the holiday season. So how can people out there that are coming back from war zones start to adapt as they come back to this country, especially at this time of year?
Yeah, I mean, easing back from being warrior to citizen is never easy. It's always difficult, whether you have a full support system on your active duty military base, or if you're a National Guard member who've gone from the streets of Kabul to your front door within 36 hours. It's a difficult process, and I think one of the things that we can do is ensure that we have the systems in place to adequately screen and treat any mental health or readjustment issues that service members are facing. You know, we just recently passed last year a law that would allow for mandatory mental health screening so that we can catch these things before they manifest into things like substance abuse and suicide. The DoD, or the Department of Defense, has just now issued regulations. We have some concerns that some of the training that they're giving the screeners is inadequate, and people can continue to fall through the cracks.
Tom, as you say, trying to catch a lot of this ahead of time, the military, though, readily admits that it doesn't have enough doctors, though, to treat the thousands of returning warriors. So what is likely to become of those who can't or won't get the treatment that they may not even know they need?
We know the military, there is a shortage. There's a shortage of mental health care professionals in the United States of America. And there's some things that, we can do. The Defense Authorization Bill that's currently under consideration right now has a provision that would allow the military to recruit thousands more medical professionals, mental health, and allow licensed counselors to provide mental health screenings to military service members. This is huge. This could save more lives than all the body armor money could buy. But right now, it's sitting, cycling through Congress. And what we don't want is for this to be the first year in 48 years that the Congress does not pass a defense authorization bill, because that's what's really on the line here. These are the livelihoods of thousands and thousands of military service members.
You know, as we continue to talk about this, I think a lot of people out there may realize also there have been documentaries made about this. I want to go ahead and play a clip from the movie Restrepo about a platoon that served in Korangal Valley in Afghanistan. A person we're about to see is Sergeant Joshua McDonough talking about life after coming home.
Just days I cried, and I didn't know why. Couldn't understand it, couldn't figure it out. But you're dealing with it, on a daily basis. Because I don't feel as though what I did out there, deserves me crying every day. You know what I mean? I don't understand the feelings, that are coming out sometimes. But I do understand that, a 15-month deployment, in the Korangal, it's gonna affect you.
So, Tom, how common is that kind of reaction to war, and how did today's after effects of combat differ from those that come back after World War II or even Vietnam?
Yeah, well, that is very common, and the after effects are virtually the same. We have issues of post-traumatic stress going back in ancient Greek writing. This is nothing new. There is a direct link between invisible injuries and combat. I think the difference that we have today is that we have much better systems in place. We have a great system, we have a great network of veteran centers across the country that provide direct mental health services to veterans. We have a VA and a DoD, or Department of Defense, that's way better equipped to handle this, and I think we have a society that is more accepting of the warriors. No matter how you feel about the war, I think by and large Americans have welcomed home warriors, and that's really what's important. You have to support these service members when they come home, whether it being understanding what they're going through and letting them know where they can get help, to supporting things like a new GI Bill or better mental health services in Congress.
Let's talk about, though, the stress that comes from not being able to find a job for a lot of these people and also pay the bills once they do get back home and they're not in that that disciplined military life anymore. Talk about the economy and really what that's doing to send these honorable men and women into worse times in their lives because they can't get a job, they can't have the discipline of working, and they're coming back from such responsibility to not having any responsibility here at home.
Yeah, that's the toughest thing. I myself was unemployed for 10 months when I left the military, and I had been in for 10 years. I was a captain. I had led a platoon of soldiers through combat, and it's very difficult. What we have is a disconnect between the civilian corporate sector and the military. Our government spends billions of dollars to educate and train great leaders that choose the most elite public service in the country, in our country, the United States military. But when someone like me or someone who has been a combat medic for 10 years or someone who's been a mechanic leaves service, it's almost impossible to translate those skills that they learned in the military to something that's marketable in the civilian world. Right now, there's no rubric. There's no translation there. And so that's something we really need to do. We need to figure out how does a young captain with 5 years of serious high-level management experience, how does that translate into the civilian job market? And that's a disconnect that's happening right now.
Well, we thank you for your service, and we also thank you for coming on and talking to us today. Tom Tarantino, good to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.